The film opens in the cold, sterile environment of the Office of Judicial Inquisition. The atmosphere is tense as Teah Grace Sinclair, a young woman, is being processed. She speaks briefly and cryptically to an unseen person, mentioning she'll be speaking with her parents, and asks them to go easy on her father, calling him a bit of a dick. She tells them to let her mother know she's sorry for ruining the party, and finally to tell them this is on me. The scene shifts to David and Dione Sinclair, Teah's parents, who are waiting anxiously. Dione immediately jumps to conclusions, believing Teah has been arrested for eco-terrorism, a suspicion based on Teah's association with Earth Warriors and a previous incident where they paint-bombed an NCT coffee morning. David is more defensive of their daughter, insisting she believes in non-violence and that he would know if things were getting out of hand, claiming Teah always kept him in the loop. They are called into the interrogation room where they meet Judicial Inquisitor Sarah Willis. Willis immediately informs them that the assessment is mandated by the Milligan Act and seeks to determine if Teah was a victim of willful neglect, psychological, physical, emotional, financial, empathetic, or a combination thereof. If guilt is established, they will be charged. David and Dione's requests to see Teah or even learn the reason for her arrest are swiftly denied. Willis states she is not at liberty to discuss that and clarifies the purpose of the meeting. I ask questions. You will answer them. We're not here to fix it. This is an inquisition, not a boardroom negotiation. Willis notes that Teah is doing well and cooperating. Willis proceeds to establish their backgrounds. Dione Millicent Sinclair, Order of the British Empire, OBE, is a successful CEO of Idea Engineering plc with no criminal record. David Peter Sinclair is listed as unemployed, though he corrects her to a part-time landscape gardener and photographer, and a self-proclaimed socialist. His record shows 3 arrests for trespass and 2 cautions. Dione, in contrast, is noted as being apolitical, a fact Willis points out by citing Dione's OBE acceptance letter, which causes a brief awkward silence and tension between the couple. The assessment begins with Stage 1, preconception, how they met and why they deemed themselves child creation compatible. They recount meeting in their 3rd year of university, November 2010, at City University, where Dione studied business and economics and David studied media studies. Dione describes David as drop-dead gorgeous and very cocksure, while David was attracted to her intelligence and drive. Dione values clarity of direction and purpose and states David made her feel desired and made her laugh. Willis then delves into the early days of their relationship, asking if they had sex on the first night. They did not, as David was ill. They say the relationship became passionate, intense and wonderful, but the cyber records show Dione ended it after only 6 months because she wanted to go traveling. David was opposed to becoming a dropout. The interrogation pauses briefly as Inquisitor Willis steps away to receive an update from Lieutenant Simons. Simons confirms that Teah has requested a lawyer, one of theirs, and that AI scans of Teah's diary are complete. Simons also mentions that a search of the house has yielded nothing of interest yet, and that he will look into why Child Protective Services, CPS, never made a case against David and Teah for previous issues. During the pause, David expresses his humiliation and anger at Dione for allowing access to her personal records and for not knowing her political stance. Dione mocks him by asking, "Oh come on, you don't even know if I'm faking an orgasm." They bicker, accusing each other of being divided or lying. The interview resumes, moving to their reconnection in April 2015, a year after Dione's first husband passed away. David moved in with Dione in May 2015, shortly after reconnecting, because he was basically homeless. Willis highlights Dione's career focus, noting her numerous promotions and her description of herself as success-orientated, not just career-orientated. The focus shifts to Dione's pregnancy, which occurred 3 months after a major promotion. Willis reveals that it was Dione's 3rd pregnancy, the first 2 having been terminated. When asked if the pregnancy was planned, Dione says no, but David affirms that they were over the moon. Willis then plays a voice note from Dione on May 21, 2017, calling the pregnancy a fucking disaster, contradicting their claim of joy. Dione confirms she considered a 3rd termination but ultimately opted against it because her mother, Ruth Majors, who had just received a terminal diagnosis, talked her around believing the baby was a gift from God. David was unaware of this terminal diagnosis at the time. Dione's difficult pregnancy, during which she suffered from hyperemesis gravidarum, nausea, vomiting, weight loss. Willis plays another voice note from Dione on December 3, 2017, describing her attendance at an NCT class. "Some of the women are so buzzed to be knocked up. I feel like I'm a different species," and saying her pregnancy was her fucking last. Willis then plays an excerpt from Teah's voice journal dated June 12, 2024, when Teah would have been about 7, where Teah describes having a conversation with her mother about the pregnancy, finding it messed up, implying Dione shared her negative feelings with her daughter. David is visibly upset, exclaiming, "I still should have been involved in the conversation." The voice journal excerpt cuts off with Teah saying, "Mummy and I talked about her pregnancy. Sounds messed up." The inquisition resumes immediately, with Inquisitor Willis playing the rest of Teah's voice journal entry about her mother's difficult pregnancy. Teah is heard expressing, "Can't believe she went through so much to bring me into this world." Dione, however, reveals that she told Teah that she occasionally regrets bringing a child into this world but never regretted being my mother, and that Teah ultimately blamed her father because he's a man, he produces semen and, well, semen made me pregnant. David is furious that Dione shared this with their 7-year-old, but Dione stands by her honest answer being part of her David child-rearing philosophy. Willis highlights that Dione returned to work just 1 week after Teah's birth, leaving David as the head of domestic operations or principal care provider. Dione defends this as logical given her career's critical phase and pushes back against the gender bias implied in the line of questioning. The focus then shifts to Teah's development. Teah is confirmed as non-neurodiverse and later tested in the top percentile range for intelligence. However, by age 4 she began having severe nightmares about the end of the world prompted by watching the Bangladesh flood disaster on livestream. This led to them employing a child psychologist, Dr. Claire Peters. The therapy provided limited help and Teah became obsessed with global warming and all things eco. The parents describe Teah's extreme behavior, including refusing to fly, only traveling in non-electric vehicles, eating only locally sourced food, and wearing only second-hand clothes, all of which became a significant bone of contention. Willis then plays a video taken at a school assembly when Teah was 9. In it, Teah delivers a startling anti-natalist speech. She asks all adults who are eco-advocates and have children to stand, then calls them fakes and hypocrites, arguing that every child spawned is another resource-grabbing, co-emitting maggot feeding on Mother Earth's twitching corpse. The Inquisitor declares Teah was a confirmed anti-natalist at age 9. The interview pauses again as Willis receives an update. A burner phone encrypted cutting-edge tech with Teah's fingerprints all over it was found in the house. Willis suspects Teah is more radicalized and part of an Earth Warrior cell. Upon resuming the interview, Willis skips ahead in Teah's timeline. Teah excels in school, sitting her GCSEs 2 years early with top grades, but then joins the extreme eco-action group, the Earth Warriors. This leads to 5 cautions in 6 months for offenses like trespass, criminal damage, and affray, but no convictions. A point Willis notes is similar to David's earlier record. David tries to defend Teah's actions as fighting for the planet's survival, but this sparks a vicious argument between the couple. Dione accuses David of only joining the protests to have something to talk about at wanky friends' dinner parties, while David counters that Dione was too busy playing Dad of the Year to notice the real Teah fading away. Willis uses the discovered device to reveal the truth about David's life. David is forced to admit that he has been acting as an intelligence resource for security services for the past 2 years. He had been providing information on Earth Warrior meetings and demos, confessing he did it to keep Teah from being locked up and explaining that he was protecting her by sacrificing her friends who were arrested. Dione is horrified, calling him a useless fucking waste of oxygen and a spy, accusing him of enabling their daughter. Willis delivers another blow. David has been under suspicion by the Earth Warriors for over a month, and Teah was instructed by her local committee to spy on him, explaining her fingerprints on the burner phone. Willis then reveals that Teah had been tracking David's whereabouts, culminating in a visit to Maple Close, Clapton. Lieutenant Simons enters the room and the Inquisitor reveals the final devastating truth. David was having an affair with a woman named Aurora Miller, who Teah tried to murder yesterday. Teah is brought in and she immediately confesses. David and Dione are distraught, but Teah tells them to relax, claiming she didn't try to murder anyone. She insists she tried to liberate the poor parasite inside her womb, calling it an act of mercy. The Inquisitor reveals that Aurora Miller suffered a minor shoulder wound before restraining Teah, who is a yoga teacher and a mixed martial arts expert, and critically that Ms. Miller is 7 months pregnant with David's child. Dione is shattered by the reveal of David's second child, yelling at him that he is a useless fucking waste of oxygen. Teah, calm and centered, tells her parents that David is not a traitor, just a tourist in the cause. Teah has pleaded guilty to attempted child destruction, a charge that carries a life sentence. She tells her parents that what she did was damage limitation and that this is on me. As she is led away, Dione and David desperately proclaim their love. Teah's final words to them are, "So prove it. Let me finally find peace." Willis explains Teah has requested to serve her sentence in punitive coma, an option she felt was a blessing, not to have to watch the world die in front of her. Finally, the Inquisitor delivers the final judgment. Dione Sinclair and David Sinclair are charged with gross psychological, emotional, and empathetic neglect of a minor and will be remanded into custody pending prosecution under the Milligan Act. The film ends with the couple looking at a piece of graffiti Teah left behind. "So long and thanks for all the fish." David explains the line is the dolphin's final message to humanity in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy when they realized Earth was doomed. Dione is left to utter a heartbreaking promise: "We'll do better, my love. We'll do better." If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.